Hey guys,
how's it going?
How are you?
Alright. What'd you do on the weekend?
Not too much. How about you?
I actually watched this documentary about the Biman Cup. Do you know what the Biman Cup is?
No.
Oh no.
So the Biman Cup, it's is a gay rugby union World Cup. It happens every 2 years, and there's teams from all over the world that travel to the cities to compete on it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
What do you think about physical activity in the whole gay, lesbian, and transgender community?
I think it's great, but I'm just not too sure how comfortable they are and how accepted they feel within society to be participating.
Yeah, it makes sense. Actually, there's a study from Goldsen that says that sports environment are really a hostile environment for that community. So actually, they don't feel comfortable participating on it.
Yeah, no, I actually read a study as well from La Trobe University. 44% of people said they've actually been physically abused in sports, so it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good at all.
I've also read a survey conducted by the Change the Game conference in 2014. They've stated that 80% of all people surveyed had experienced some form of homophobic abuse during sport.
I actually got some stats about it as well. The same study from Goldsen says that 76% have received verbal insults, and 54 have suffered physical violence.
Wow.
That's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you think that affects on their health?
Yeah, no, their mental health would definitely suffer. I think feelings of isolation. That would also then again like come into their physical health as well, not wanting to participate in physical activity because of it and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. I've also read another study done by the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists. They've said that the legislative inequalities that surround that group has a significant impact on the mental health of the participants.
Yeah, mental health is a big thing. I actually read an article on it as well.
So we've been reading so much about this. Crazy.
It's from 2011, so it's quite recent, from Jill. It says that that group, the gays, lesbians, and transgenders, they have a big percentage of suicide and depression levels, a lot more than youth and adults and normal straight people, as you can say that. And it actually affects the physical health as well. That same study from Jill from 2011 says that 40% of transgenders are considered obese, and 23% of them do not practice any sort of physical activity.
Wow.
So that would really impact their physical health, and diabetes and weight control and all of those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. I've also noticed that many national sporting codes such as NRL, Union, swimming and netball have all recently jumped on board in support of the lesbian, gays and transgenders. They've created a round called Rainbow Round, where they all wear rainbow laces on their sports boots, which just obviously shows support and
Yeah, I think I did see that as well. I did think I saw a few netball players actually wearing rainbow socks as well for that round as well. It's great to see that there's awareness for it.
100%.
Well, there's starting to be an awareness for it.
It is a great impact on the social cultural features of that community, because it makes them feel like they are accepted, and especially for such big companies like all the sporting teams, for them to create that awareness and importance for something like that. So it's
and not only at a national level but at a local level as well, the impact they have on lesbians, gays and transgenders and bis wanting to participate at a local level, but obviously feeling that disconnection between the others has a major impact.
And even within that social cultural universe, if you can say it, especially the transgender, they feel really excluded from it. Because there's a lot of prejudice from gays and from lesbians towards transgender. So they really suffer from it, and their levels of depression and suicide are even bigger than gays and lesbians.
Which all again links back to the mental health of them.
And going back to this transgender, that same study from Goldsen says that they really suffer on trying to get employment. 46% of the transgender, they say that they did not get hired for the last job that they applied. So there's a big barrier for them, and then it turns out that they earn less income,
Yeah.
and it becomes a big barrier for them on the financial aspects of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because we all know that financial, as sad as it is, it actually has a big impact on health altogether,
Yeah.
both physically and mentally.
Yeah. 100%. One of the most interesting facts that I've come across and research that I've seen is the Change the Game conference that was held in 2014. As I stated before, that a survey conducted by the conference stated that 80% of those surveyed had experienced some form of homophobic abuse while participating in physical activity. One of the guest speakers is the Associate Professor Caroline Simmons. She's the Deputy Dean of the College of Sport and Exercise Science at Victoria University. So she's had a lot of experience and exposure to obviously both sides. I'll give you some information about where she comes from
Yeah,
and
that'd be good.
some of the search. Yeah.
Definitely interesting.
She's the pioneering researcher of homophobia in sport in Australia. She also led the first comprehensive study to investigate the sporting experiences of lesbian, gay, bi and transgender people in the country. And that research was called Come Out to Play. Yeah. Followed on in 2014, she did a Beyond Blue funded study of the sporting and physical education experiences of same-sex, attracted and gender diverse young people and the impact of homophobia on the mental health of those young people. Obviously, Beyond Blue is the depression and mental health. Yeah. She was also a member of the expert academic panel advising on the first international study of homophobia in sport, which was titled Out on the Field in 2015. That's interesting. All of these research projects have informed policy to promote the inclusion of lesbian, gay, bi and transgender in sport.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's had a major impact
Definitely.
on the inclusion
And
in sport.
studies like that and conferences like that are really important to create awareness, especially in the sports environment,
Yeah,
because it represents such a big part of people's lives.
Yeah.
And for a whole group in a society to feel excluded from it
Yeah.
and feel scared of participating, it's really bad. And people just don't participate in physical activity because they don't feel comfortable.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that affects their physical and mental health, not just
Yeah.
in short term, but on long term as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good to see people like Professor Caroline Simmons actually come out and promote and get started these studies, so it does become more known in society,
Yeah.
which is great.
Definitely. Yeah.
There's another conference in Sydney this year, it's called Team Sydney. It's the same thing, it's about participation of gay, lesbian, bisexual and transgender in sport and physical activity.
Yeah.
It's going to happen in May. And funny enough, there's two staff from ACPE
Wow.
speaking at the conference.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, they're going to be talking about how physical activity influences the life of that community and different things that people can do in order to increase the participation levels and make them feel more included.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the government also has a major influence on same-sex equality. Again, the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists did a study and said that the legislation inequalities has a significant and deleterious impact on mental health. They also said that there's a strong connection between improved health outcomes and the legislation change, and that was done by Professor Malcolm Hopwood. He's also said that people who identify as lesbian, gay, bi or transgender are at an increased risk of exposure to institutionalised and interpersonal discrimination. They've also said that the mental health outcomes for the lesbian, gay, bi and transgender populations of Australia and New Zealand are amongst the poorest of demographics.
Wow.
Yeah,
And that reflects on the fact that same-sex couples can't get married.
yeah,
Because imagine living your whole life feeling that the love that you have by someone else
yeah,
isn't legal.
yeah,
For For sure.
that you can get married, that you can have a family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely got to have an impact on your mental health.
Yeah, and all these government legislations are controlling how someone feels and how people act in society, and it's actually really upsetting.
They definitely need to put more legislations and do more government-wise.
Yeah.
The only thing they really have at the moment is the Anti-Discrimination Act from 1997, and it's outdated. It needs to be, it needs to get with the times. Especially going again with the mental health thing. So same-sex couples, they're not recognised for any tax or superannuation purposes, even though they can be together for 20, 30, 50 years, and none of it's recognised. It's not, even if same-sex marriage doesn't get legalised, something needs to be done about the super and the tax, for the financial and then mental health kind of thing like it.
100%. Even surrounding that, like the private health, they're not recognised as a couple.
Yeah, or even a family, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. They'll be individualised, which is secluding them from all the benefits that obviously Australia is like.
Yeah, supposed to, we're meant to be a free country, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But the funny thing is, the population of Victoria is one step ahead from us. The government created an advisory committee just for the health of gay, lesbian and transgender community. So there's a small section of the government that's studying and looking into that specific group and now the health requirements. So at least the government in Victoria is doing something for their own people and looking into the health of that group.
Yeah.
It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and then hopefully other states will catch on and then start to spread.
One of the interesting things that do happen in Sydney is called ACOM. ACOM is a government-funded institution that focuses on sexual health of that group. Not just sexual health, but also the prevention of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, which leading back to mental health is something that they can use as escape. So when they feel like they don't belong to the society, most times you tend to go towards alcohol and drug abuse. So they actually have strategies in place for the aging community, for HIV and AIDS prevention. And they have some great stuff that they want to achieve into 2020. So that's the only thing that happens in Sydney that's funded by the government.
It's definitely positive. I think the government, they're aware and they understand, but I think until they do they change that legislation, then that's when we'll start to see some really good results within this part of the community.
Which definitely needs to happen.
Agreed.
And because this part of society is such a niche, do you think would there be any business opportunities for someone to try and tackle that group and make a business out of it?
Definitely, because at this point it's semi untapped market at this point. So I definitely think business wise there is plenty of opportunity there.
Yeah.
Like for example, on the exposure from the rainbow ribbon.
Yeah. Someone could catch on to that and then.
Because they were free at Rebel Sports.
Oh, there you go.
So you create a sense of acceptance towards your business.
Yeah.
So now that community is strongly linked to Rebel Sports, for example.
Yeah.
So that's a whole market, if you can say that. They are interested in buying your stuff.
And obviously with the help from those national sporting codes, who obviously are able to get exposure, it will obviously help massively.
And even clubs, they are friendly towards that community. There's the Sydney Convicts. It's is a gay rugby union club.
Oh yeah.
They are the biggest in Australia, and they actually won the World Cup that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So they are a really big business, and they are sponsored by great companies.
Yeah.
So again, this market is really untapped. So
Yeah.
there are opportunities for people to start teams and clubs
Yeah.
that accept and invite that community to
Yeah.
participate.
And I think that's the big thing as well. Acceptance is really coming
Yeah.
in. I know netball professionally. There's a female player that just got married, not legally, obviously, but did have a wedding ceremony with her now wife.
Oh wow.
So that team got fully on board with it. It was in the
Yeah.
local paper. It was on the news. Everyone was like, it's just very
Yeah.
accepting. So I think in all sporting codes, it's definitely, and it's good that it's male and female as
Yeah.
well, same sex.
Yeah. Also, the International Olympic Committee came out in January of this year and said that they're now accepting transgender athletes as individuals, and they are now able to compete.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
And
Whereas before, they were only allowed to compete if they had obviously the surgery and it was legally accepted and
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a really difficult process to go through, so it's
100%.
almost impossible unless
Yeah.
you're made of money, basically.
yeah. So businesses and organisations like that are slowly starting to come on board. It just needs that legislation to kickstart it, and then businesses can obviously expand and
Yeah,
go from there.
I definitely think the rest of the world has caught on to that.
Yeah.
So many, even New Zealand, the States, everywhere has started to legalise gay marriage and recognise it legally as well.
Yeah.
So I think Australia's quite behind in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And once this acceptance starts becoming bigger, maybe there'll be more researchers on gender diversity in physical activity, sports, and health.
Yeah.
Because after watching the documentary, I actually tried to go after some proper information, and there are not a lot of researchers and studies on it, which really limits the access to information on it and peer-reviewed articles and journal articles
Yeah.
on that segment of society.
Just out of curiosity, with those, with the research that you did do, did you find they were like government reports, or were they just independent?
They were just independent,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
and most of them were the first ones on their time.
Yeah.
So everything that was dated prior to 2010, because as you can probably imagine, even 60 years ago, the mentality of the society towards
That's great.
gay,
Yeah.
lesbian,
Yeah.
bisexual, and transgender was quite different than it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another limitation I found with the research is the lack of it and the lack of knowledge out there, which obviously makes it harder for the research to be done for businesses and their opportunities to grow and expand. So it's really difficult to find that information.
Yeah, to progress and to
Yeah.
move on from here, and yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And most information you can find on newspaper and on websites and just some groups that are specialized in homophobia in sport,
Yeah.
but nothing peer-reviewed or part of a journal.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, guys. I'm glad that you think that that's an interesting thing
Yeah.
and that
Yeah, no,
awareness
it's definitely an
needs to
interesting
happen.
topic.
Yeah.
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 Maybe I will start my own AFL team.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Great
It's
business opportunity.
great business
Sure.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna get you guys to work with me.
Yes, 100%.
Obviously,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have to go now because there's an exam I
Oh,
have to study for.
yeah.
All right.
I feel you. Exams.
Take
Gosh.
care.
All right. See you,
guys,
Serge.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I better be off too. Catch you, loves.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.